Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we've got to do a bit of a showcase on SHAMAEL. Currently available through Void Shards. If you pull 30, get him for a guaranteed event. Now, SHAMAEL is a bit of a one-trick pony, but his trick is pretty damn solid. He absolutely nullifies the Head of Torment in Hydra. And for that reason alone, a lot of people would love to have a SHAMAEL on their account. I would say he's really effective early game into mid game, and I see him less in like really end game teams because his superpower is that if the heads are alive, especially the Head of Torment, he's pushing your team, or especially your leader, to have more and more turns. If you've got a team that just annihilates heads, which is the way this game has gone, he adds less and less value. So I don't use him in my super end game teams, but I did use him a ton building up to that because he just made one of the most annoying heads irrelevant. Okay, and if not even irrelevant, we actually used it against the Hydra. So let's talk about how that happens. The main way he's making that happen is his passive. So each critical hit fills his turn meter by 7.5%. So if you make him crit, he's going to gain turn meter. But whenever an ally receives a fear or a true fear from an enemy, this skill instantly removes the debuff and fills the leader's turn meter by 15%. So if you can imagine, every single time one of your allies hits the Head of Torment, they're meant to get that true fear up. Instead of that, it gets cleaned off and your leader gains turn meter. What then happens is his A1 goes off because whenever an enemy places a debuff on an ally, uses this skill against that enemy. This counterattacks and doesn't do much damage, so it can't crit. So what it means is you can get some like chain A1s away. Every time he A1s, he gets the true fear removed and your leader gains turn meter. So you can actually use it to pump one person on your team's skills an absurd amount. Okay. And his A2 is more about PvE away from Hydra, I would say. So you can build him to do absolute damage. So the more buffs he's got, the more defense he ignores. You can actually make it so that he's going to take 4 buffs from your team, and then he will basically one-shot anybody in like hard Doom Tower. If you just want to take out a tank or in Arena, you want to take out a tank, you can build him with damage. This will one-shot anybody if you've got 100% crit rate and a decent amount of attack and crit damage. So that's the second use case for this guy. But today we're going to look at how to use him in a Hydra team. And I'm building him relatively simply, I would say. So I've just built him to survive. High defense, good HP, some speed, and then I actually built him with some resistance, but that's a luxury. Masteries I've wiped clean. Okay, so basically what we're saying here, and books are irrelevant for what I'm showing you here. This guy was already booked on my account, but you do not need books for this build because it's all about his passive, and his passive doesn't need books. So it's make him survive, and masteries, it's kind of like, there's masteries on the website. You could go with Giant Slayer and get yourself some extra damage away, but really don't want him to do damage, okay? Because the more damage he does with this A1, the quicker he kills the Head of Torment and the less benefit you get from this passive. So weirdly, although this guy can hit hard, you don't really want him to. You want him to tickle away and allow the rest of your, or allow your leader to just have multiple turns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show him alongside Ninja, who obviously a lot of us use him right now, because Ninja's one of these champs that really benefits from boosted turn meter. In fact, so what I've got him in here is Perception Gear. This is a build that I've shown for running easy Sand Devil. So 191 speed alongside a God Seed, and that's job done. So if we remember with Ninja, he does his damage through the A2, landing the ability. So we don't actually need high damage build on Ninja for an earlier like mid-game build. So we're just going to grab some reflex stuff. Make sure that it's got speed, it's got accuracy on it, ideally. But really with stuff like the HP, stuff like the chests and the gloves, HP or defense are going to be the things that keep you alive. And you really don't need a whole bunch of like crit rate and that type of stuff. What's this here? I don't need that crit, so we can just grab some gloves, defense with speed, perfect. And then obviously, I'm not putting accessories on here, so I'm trying to show you an earlier game build, and I've got way better gear than most people watching, but you would use accuracy for your For your banner, you would probably take something with accuracy on it for your amulet, and then a way to stay alive for your ring. So this build is all about accuracy to land your abilities and speed to do them as often as possible. If you were trying to take down like Nightmare and you've got much better gear, then you would pump offensive stats and you would actually make him use all of his abilities a lot of times so you get the benefit from the passive. But all we're going to try and do is just reset this A2 as many times as we can using SHAMAEL. And this is really the godlike mode of SHAMAEL. So let's go on to hard. So the way I do this here is I turn off the A3 for this particular build and we just cycle the A2 as often as I can using that reflex gear. Other people I've got in here, Udo, just doing us drop defense and stuff and basically giving us some sort of healing. Morley's in there to do the provoking. And Eastrid's in there basically to do things like decrease speed on the enemy, increase speed and turn meter on us. Another good example of using SHAMAEL, by the way, would be to put Eastrid or whoever your turn meter booster is in that first slot. And then you'd constantly get your turn meter boost. Like, you're basically just taking an obscene amounts of turns. So let me show you this through. I'll just slow it down so you can get an understanding. We're going to attack the head of torment here, so you can get a feel for what's going on. Every time we attack, fear goes on. Oh, we're not going to do it. Here we go. Fear goes on, but gets wiped off straight away. And then we get a turn meter boost on our leader because SHAMAEL's passive kicks in. So literally every time we hit, we get a turn meter boost. It's kind of insane. We hit, turn meter boost, and Ninja's obviously using his reflex set. So he's trying to get back to his A2 just as often as he can. And really, it's kind of like cheat code. Even if you're just trying to do like normal Hydra, these two together are obscene. At that point, everybody else in your team should be made to try and keep your team alive. Apart from maybe one other damage dealer to try and free people out of heads if you need it. But just look how often we get a turn meter boost. A2 goes off again. And basically, we're going to be flying through damage. This, for me, is the best use case of SHAMAEL. I can take it off of there. We're just going to allow SHAMAEL to do his thing. But yeah, every time the head of torment tries to land debuffs on us, or even if people put like poisons on us and stuff, SHAMAEL is always getting the A1 out there, which is kind of nuts. And we're just cycling through our abilities so damn quick. And yeah, I mean, Geomancer's another great person to put in the lead. Anyone really that you just want to cycle the same abilities are through as often as you can is basically what you want to do. I think the lower level of Hydra you face, the more often you're going to get a respawn of the same heads. That's just as a watch out. But you can see here, we're just going to do an obscene amount of damage, really for quite an easy amount of effort. If you're running teams that really do like phenomenal damage, like you see, we've already killed the head here because my builds are just too strong for this level. If you're running teams that really do a phenomenal amount of damage, then SHAMAEL isn't necessarily going to do that much good because the head of torment just dies too quick, and you struggle to get the real benefit from him. But yeah, if you're, as I say, early to mid game and struggling with the head of torment, I think it's the hardest head to deal with because there's really very few champions that do it well. Then he's an obscene cheat code for Hydra. I'll let this bad boy run through and let's see what sort of damage we get out of this pairing. So look, I think this could go on forever with the level of gear I've got, but obviously you get an idea. Because he's boosting Ninja so much, we've got Ninja's damage is just obscene. Istrid also doing crazy damage, actually. I wonder if she's got... I wonder if she was wearing gear that puts out Hex. But obviously, new Ninja, you've got 2 damage dealers in there. This combo is just absolutely nuts. So the second way to build him here, I'm just going to grab the gear from my offensive gear. Now, in fact, no, this is not the way to build him because we don't even need any of these sets. We're literally just going for high crit damage and then capping his crit rate out. And sets are irrelevant with this guy because you cap out his ignore defense. We don't need all of these kind of like fancy sets to get it done. So we're literally just looking for basically capping out crit rate and then pushing his damage potential up through the roof using any sets that we like. Makes him really, really easy to build, because generally champions, they either need cruel set or they need savage gear or lethal gear to really get their kind of like maximum potential. But I can use any of my kind of like wayward sets here to get the job done, and then, you know, just sort of focus in on some speed, making sure that we get that crit cap away. So I could go into priority stats and just say, like, give me high speed here now. So I need a bit more speed on my builds. Making sure that we keep our crit rate towards max. So we're going to say high crit rate as well. Beautiful. And then we end up with a mishmash of gear, but crit capped with high crit damage and high attack. And this way, as I said earlier, we're basically going to be able to one-shot kind of anyone really in Doomtail. Now, you still want to bring some accuracy if you're going to use him in this sort of way, if you want to try and use him for the fear as well. So you kind of like one-shot in one enemy. An accuracy banner. Just take Deeks. So you're going to one-shot one enemy, and then let's grab an attack ring, and then fear the rest. So you can see here, and with this, if you've got a high blessing, you might even go, I don't know if you need it actually. Cruelty's kind of irrelevant. Maybe you would go for Crushing Rend, but we're already ignoring so much of the defense anyway that's probably not even required. You might even just go Phantom Touch to get the extra damage away, or because we're going to go buff heavy, you might go Heaven Cast and just get additional damage per buff. Maybe this is the best option. Masteries, you don't need to grab Helm Smasher because you're going to ignore all defense anyway, so you're literally just bringing in anything that's going to pump damage. Things like Ruthless Ambush for that first shot, things like Cycle of Violence to get your ability back fast. Depends if you've got anyone who's going to debuff for you, but it's unlikely. So you probably take Blood Shield into Flawless Execution. And then down the left-hand side here, you just bring in all of your damage masteries. And then you'd probably go defensive tree to just kind of like cycle through abilities. Something like this. And then all we're going to do is throw him in a Doomtail wave. I'm just going to show you an example here of nuking somebody. So if you're in a, I don't know, high-level wave and you just need to take somebody out because they're really tanky. You want somebody who's going to lay the buffs in first. So we've got 3 buffs here from a Sifi, for example. You might grab, I don't know, Lydia to do the do as well. And then our SHAMAEL. And this will just give you an idea of the one-shot capability of this guy. So already with a shield set, just Sifi alone. In fact, let's just try that. Sifi alone. Is it enough to get the one shot? We're taking some hits. Just stop these people doing stuff. So with the A2 here, triple hit. Bearing in mind, you saw that how high a wave of enemy I'm up against. Triple hit. Easy. I mean, easy taking them down. And that'll be the same for any enemy at this level. Whether it's a tank, whether it's an attack base, doesn't matter. He will one-shot anyone with the A2. And then he puts True Fear out on the rest, which means that they've got a 50-50 chance of doing anything. Yeah, so as long as you've got that kind of like supporting act, we've basically got 50-50 as to whether we're just locking people out. The A1's no slouch either, by the way. Probably going to get killed here now because I haven't got the rest of the team to kind of help me out. But you get an idea of how you utilize this guy. And then if you've got anybody like Painkeeper's just resetting his ability to get his A2 back, 160k with the A2. It's so easy. So yeah, he's just going to mince people up. I mean, he's just absolutely wrecking. So that's the alternative way to use a SHAMAEL with a different type of build. But yeah, definitely a great epic. Got 2 really, really clear use cases. And yeah, enjoy if you pick him up. There you go, guys. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you in the next one.